Hi, welcome to the F1 Time Portal, a Formula One history podcast started by a couple of friends that love Formula One, like a lot. I'm your host, Rosa.
And I'm your Wheels host, Luigi. And today we are rating drivers from the 1961 season for our special series, the Time Portal Championship. But this is part 2 and the final part. So let's go.
Okay, is that like Wheels magazine, Luigi, or what's Wheels?
Well, in 1961, there was a song called Wheels by a band called the String-Alongs.
Oh.
And it got to number 8 in the UK charts.
I have never heard it.
It got there for 1 week. So I'm going to listen to that song later and see if it's a half-decent song. If it's called Wheels, it might be about Formula One, for all we know.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. So we're up to race 5, which is actually the British Grand Prix. There's 9 races this season. So are we ready to get straight into it?
Yes. Hello, Ratna. You're still with us?
I am still with you, yes.
Excellent.
Thank you for the intro. Okay. So qualifying saw Phil Hill, Ginther, Bonnier in the Porsche and Von Trips all set identical lap times, while Moss was alongside Von Trips on the second row in his Walker Lotus 18. The race began in heavy rain, with Phil Hill, Von Trips and Ginther getting ahead at the start, chased by Moss and Bonnier. Von Trips took the lead after 7 laps, passing Hill. Moss moved to third when Ginther ran wide at one point, and then managed to get past Hill for second. He then started chasing Von Trips, but was never able to pass him. When the rain stopped, Moss began to drop back and would retire with brake problems. This allowed the Ferraris to finish 1, 2, 3 with Von Trips winning over Hill and Ginther. Ginther was third after team orders to let his teammate through.
Ooh, Ferrari.
So we talked about team orders, but they're starting to exert their influence.
Yes.
Yeah, so over to you, Ratna, for your top 3 for the British Grand Prix.
Okay, I have actually got a joint second because poor Ginther. I mean, he was definitely set to win, but, team orders are team orders, and good on him for being a team player. And I think, subsequent to that, I think a lot of the modern day races is all about strategy, right?
Yes.
So if they played that well, and I thought he needed to not be third, so I put him as joint second with Hill. And for number 1, once again, the man who I have a soft spot for, Von Trips. He finally could say, I Von Trips, because he's living up to the plural of his name. He's with his second win. But it's also the last race won by a German until about 30 years later when Schumacher won. So there's a bit of history there as well.
Nice fun fact there. Like it.
Yeah,
good bit of research. And Ratna, you are, I won't say your surname, plus your surname's a tricky one to say, but there's nothing stopping you from changing your surname and putting an S at the end of it. Just so you know, you can do that if you want to.
I just might call myself PK or something,
Yeah. So my top 3, I had Ferrari in third. Why? Because giving team orders to make Ginther let the others through. Yet, wasn't he sort of the team leader at the start of the year? And that seems like a long time ago now. So why did Ferrari now decide to shuffle their drivers around, but not at the beginning of the year when it may have had more of an impact? So,
yeah, I don't know.
I'm giving them, I don't know why. It's finally they're giving orders as they should have earlier, perhaps.
Yeah, okay.
Moss second. He was in second place and deservedly, and in a team, and obviously we had a Ferrari 1, 2, 3 here, so he was doing really well. And he was in control in that second place in an inferior car and on a power track, not like Monaco where handling he could get away with it with talent and handling, This was not that sort of a track, so he was doing really well. So that's why I gave him second. And Von Trips, I gave the win for the win. Pretty much. Simple as that.
Finally.
Yeah.
I gave Ginther third. It was a little bit unfair, but look, he was there, and he that's the way things go in sport, I guess. But third spot for him. Moss, I gave him second spot as well. Would have challenged for a podium, I think, had it not been for reliability of his car. That seems a little bit unrealistic now, looking at that statement. The Ferraris were just so strong, and like you say, Luigi, it wasn't like a handling track; it was a speed track, which maybe not. But anyway, I think he would have challenged. And yeah, Von Trips for getting into the lead and winning.
Yeah.
So after 5 races, we have Von Trips in the lead on 52, Moss second on 48, Ginther and Phil Hill third on 33 points.
And Phil Hill.
Yeah, that's what I said. Ginther and
Phil
Hill.
Oh, you said Phil Hill. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Bit of a gap there, isn't there? I was focusing on the gap. I wasn't listening properly. Yeah. A bit of a gap, wasn't there? Like, considering Phil Hill wins his championship, if he's going to win the People's Hearts Championship, he needs to get on the move, right?
To get a move on. He needs to win our hearts. He's not winning our hearts.
No, he's not. No. So we're up to the 6th race of the season, the German Grand Prix. So qualifying saw Phil Hill record a remarkable time of 8 minutes 55.2. So Ratna, this is a track called the Nürburgring, and it's a pretty ominous track. Like, it's 22-kilometer track, or nearly 23. And the race is only 15 laps. That's a testament to how long the lap is. And it's known, in the future, drivers call it the Green Hell, because it's just surrounded by trees and not, it's not a track that you'd imagine with concrete framing around it, because it was too long, So anyway, this is the first time when Phil Hill set that time. It's the first time someone had lapped that track in under 9 minutes. So it was a pretty special moment in time. And this time was nearly 6 seconds faster than Brabham's best, with Moss third quickest in his Rob Walker Lotus 18. So he was also well ahead of everyone else. Bonnier completed the front row in his Porsche. The second row featured Von Trips, Graham Hill in his BRM, and Gurney. The race started in damp conditions, and Brabham led the field away, only to spit out and crash on the first lap. Phil Hill charged up and took the lead, but Moss passed the American before they reached the finish line to start the second lap. Moss would stay ahead for the rest of the race, while Von Trips came up and overtook Hill for second after a long battle. Towards the end of the race, it started to rain, but Moss never took off his intermediate tyres, and this allowed Moss to extend his lead and won a superb victory by over 20 seconds with a Lotus that had superior handling to the Ferrari, but not so good power. So this was that race, Rosa, if I recall correctly, that while it rained, he did well. When it dried out, he fell back, and then it rained again. He pulled away again because he had those intermediate tyres. So good job by Moss.
Yep.
So over to you, Ratna.
Yeah, an interesting race. Got a little bit wet and messy towards the end. But I have got number 3 with Hill, based on the finish, and Von Trips on second, based on his finish as well. As for Moss, sorry about this dad statement, but he was sterling even in the most mossy of conditions. And he did so with no tire change. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, he should have been spinning out and stuff, but shows how much in control he was. And he finished it with 20 seconds ahead of the next guy. And I believe this was his last Grand Prix victory. Yeah.
61.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah, could be wrong, but
you're good. It's probably a good pick. Well done, Ratna.
Yes.
Well, the interesting stats that these people bring up, right?
Yeah, I know. They always show us up, these guests.
I know.
They go deep with the research.
Yeah. That's good.
That I am.
Okay, so I had in third place, I had Von Trips in third for the fact that he got second place. I actually put in second place the dual Ferrari spin. So to explain it, when the rain came back towards the end of the race, both Von Trips and Phil Hill spun off sideways through a puddle, but they still finished second and third. And my view was that it would have been awesome to see. So I think they spun off on that same puddle, racing each other as well, which is what makes it more dynamic and exciting. So,
like synchronized spinning.
Yes, I couldn't give it to the puddle, so I gave it to the cars.
Why not, Luigi? You could have given it to the puddle.
I could have given it to the puddle, temporary puddle, taking pictures of it, framed it, And Moss for the win. Not just a tyre risk that he took, but it was a really solid drive. And to keep in front of the Ferraris on, again, a track that was like a power track again.
Yeah.
But he's really outperforming and outdriving that car. So great job, Moss, for the win.
Well, I gave my third spot to Clark. I mean, again, 8th to 3rd, I think. He finished
fourth.
Oh, did he finish 4th? Yikes. Yeah. Well, 8th to 4th is still pretty good. And it's in the wet and in that Lotus that's only just starting to assert itself. So I thought I'd recognise Clark in there. Von Trips in my second spot, took second after that fight with Phil Hill. So good on him. And Moss, great strategy. Like, he had to choose at the beginning of the race whether he'd put on the wets or stay in the dries. I mean, they didn't have slicks, but they had dry tyres and intermediates. And I doubt there was much technology in terms of weather forecasting. So he had to really kind of gut feel it and back himself, I guess, to get a good lead while it was wet. And he did. And his skill in the wet, I mean, I think that's one of Moss's biggest traits and skills, isn't it? His skill in the wet. And it's what makes him, I guess, still today one of the best drivers, because he's got that skill in the wet. So, I gave it to him for that. So at the end of race 6, we still got Moss in the lead on 72. Von Trips second on 68, and Phil Hill, he's third on 37.
He's not winning our hearts. He's running out of time.
Yes. Oh, this is going to be interesting. And I'm a Ferrari fan. I'm blaming
Moss
you.
Is leading it.
But I'm blaming you. Yeah, I'm blaming you, Luigi. If anyone has listened to the first part of this, I don't know.
Look, it was just one race where I got it a little bit wrong. But let's see what happens. Okay, up to the 7th race of the season, the Italian Grand Prix, the ever-exciting Grand Prix where there's lots of slipstreaming. So Ferrari had already won the Constructors' title, so it was a straight fight between Wolfgang von Trips and Phil Hill for the Drivers' title. Von Trips was on pole, with Rodriguez second in the old V6 Ferrari engine, ahead of Ginther and Phil Hill, with Graham Hill's BRM sharing the 3rd row with Baghetti. Clark was in 7th on the 4th row. At race start, the Ferraris did not have things their own way, for Graham Hill, Clark and Brabham all succeeded in splitting them up. By the end of the first lap, it was Ginther leading Phil Hill and the others, but on lap 2 came the unfortunate death of Von Trips and 14 spectators after a collision with Clark. The remaining 4 Ferraris clear of the field and 20 seconds ahead of Moss and Gurney, who were battling for 5th. On lap 24, smoke started pouring from Ginther's Ferrari engine, forcing his retirement. So now it was just Phil Hill left to carry the Ferrari name, and he set about creating a good lead from Moss, who then also retired after a collapsed front wheel bearing. So the final results were Phil Hill first, Gurney second, and McLaren third. And Ratna, just to make sure you were clear that we're not heartless, we do go into a lot of detail about the unfortunate incident that cost Von Trips and those spectators their life, and they don't even stop the race in those days. They just kept going. It's crazy. So a bit of a sad race, unfortunately, not the normal positive Italian race we normally enjoy. So over to you in your top 3, Ratna.
Yeah, certainly a really tough one. And like, as you mentioned, I was just surprised that, they didn't stop the race after such a massive tragedy, right? But for me, at number 3, I had Gurney, who finished second in the race. Number 2, Phil Hill, for coming first. Good on them for powering on despite what happened prior. And at number 1, I've got an honorary win for Von Trips. I mean, it's lap 2 and, what I said, I think to happen. Also because, he was up for the driver's title, right? I mean, he was pretty much neck and neck with Phil Hill, I think. A life cut too short, way too soon.
Yep. I agree.
And I normally have regret. And normally when someone does make the ultimate sacrifice, I normally do give them the win, but I didn't this time. I don't know why. Bit of a surprise pick for me. So I had Moss third, should have come second. So I've got what I'll call unemotional picks. I've got
You're heartless, Luigi.
Yeah, heartless picks. Ginther second. He deserved second, but had an engine issue. And Phil Hill first. Won easily, but a sad race. And he kept going despite what was clearly a horrific scene that was happening on the side of the track as they were racing. So, but I should have given it to Von Trips.
Well, clearly, I'm spending way too much time with you, Luigi, because I've also gone the exact same rankings.
The same unemotional path.
Same unemotional. But I think, like you say, we spent a lot of time going through this race during the race review, and it was just so heartbreaking, like the incident and, the circumstances with Von Trips. And, actually since then, I actually saw a clip of this on YouTube. They have this accident on YouTube, and you have to be over 18 to watch it, and well, rightly so, because it's quite disturbing to watch. It's obviously, it's a very, like, I just didn't realise reading about it how bad it actually was when you see it. And I would would not, like, I'm not suggesting that people do go and watch it, because it is actually very disturbing. But having said that, I think I just protected myself from all of that emotion again, and sort of gave Moss third spot. I think bad luck robbed him of second. Ginther, same thing, bad luck robbed him of second. And Phil Hill, I think I gave it to him just because, like, he would have known what had happened to his teammate, the accident. He would have, I think, given what I saw, they would have taken a long time to, put the track back in order, and he would have seen what had happened, and he just kept going, which I think is, I know we all say they're racers and they want to win, but like that would be so hard to do. So I gave it to him.
And they would have all known each other.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yes, they were rivals and all that sort of thing. But they had a camaraderie and a respect, and
absolutely,
so it still would have been tough, even if they didn't like each other. It still would have been
and
tough.
I think we read also, Luigi, that Phil Hill was a very kind, kind of unassuming type of guy. Like he was not your full on heartless racer. He was actually a very kind of emotional guy. So. And at the end of this race, I don't think he was really that happy taking the win. So, I feel for him in those circumstances. So, at the end of race 7, how many more races have we got to go, Luigi?
2.
2 more races. So, we've got...
Oh, wait. That was Italy, right?
Yeah, that was Italy.
Oh, one more race to go, sorry.
One more race. Okay, so with one race to go, we have Moss in the lead on 80 points. Von Trips is second with 76, and Phil Hill is third with 59.
Wow. So, I mean, unless Von Trips is lucky to get any more points, I don't think he's getting any more.
No.
Phil Hill needs one hell of a final race to pull in this win. So let's see.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're on the verge of handing this to Moss.
I can't believe it either. It's all your fault, Luigi.
that points that I didn't give to Von Trips. It's coming to life. Yeah. It's only 4 points.
Yes.
Oh no.
Does this count as manipulation, Luigi?
No. Well, manipulation implies I intentionally did it. Now, I didn't intentionally
It's subconscious.
do it.
It's even worse. It's subconscious bias.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would have marked Moss down for the 61 championship, and here we are. We're on the verge.
Not only have you not given it to like who should have been the true champion, and he won our hearts, but he's also that car, and I think that driver is also our mascot, our logo of our podcast, Luigi.
Wow. I'm really feeling the weight of what's happened here.
Of your alcohol-induced brain fade.
Yeah. Okay, race 8. Are we ready?
Yes.
This is the final race of the season, the United States Grand Prix, and we start with the fact that Ferrari chose not to attend. So there's no Phil Hill points.
Oh,
I think
no.
we've pretty much given it to Moss now. So
Wow.
Brabham set pole with his V8, with Graham Hill second and Moss third. At the start of the race, Brabham led the field. This is going to feel like a funny race because it's going to feel like new drivers for Ratner.
Yeah.
Like, who are these drivers?
Who are these
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
Never heard.
At the start of the race, Brabham led the field off the grid and into the first corner. But before the end of the first lap, Moss had moved into the lead. These two were followed by Ireland up from 8th, Hill, Dan Gurney, Maston Gregory and McLaren. By lap 10, Moss and Brabham continued to draw away at a second a lap. So they're really in their own zone and now swapping the lead back and forth. On lap 34, Brabham's V8 began to leak water and overheat and he retired on lap 45. So now, leading by over 40 seconds, Moss seemed on his way to a comfortable victory. However, his oil pressure was dropping. And on lap 59, he retired suddenly, handing the lead to Ireland. The next challenger was Roy Salvadori, who began trimming the lead from 20 seconds down to 5 with only 5 laps to go. But with just over 3 laps remaining, Salvadori's privately entered Cooper blew its engine. Ireland couldn't ease up, however, as Gurney was only 5 seconds away. But that's how it stayed, and Ireland went on to win his one and only championship race. And I had to say that before Ratner probably says, and Ireland, into Ireland, only won one race.
Yeah.
So over to you, Ratner.
Yeah. A very, very interesting race, this one, because of all the people who just never quite finished, who we thought we would. But in the third place, and sealing what we were talking about before, I've got Moss. An honorary mention because it was his last World Championship race. That's why he's there. And I believe that is true.
I think you're right. I think he has that
Yeah.
big accident in the off-season, Luigi.
Yes.
And-
I'm looking in 62 to see if he. I thought he may have done the first race, but no, he doesn't.
I think that was
Yeah.
the year he actually was going to sign and race for Ferrari, and he had a big accident. I think it was at the Goodwood or at Silverstone or something, and he ended his career. He retired straight after. So
Yeah, he was so young as well.
yeah, he was. Yep.
And in second place, I've got Gurney for coming in second. And in first place, I've got Ireland. I mean, like, he was pretty much the Stephen Bradbury of the 1961 racing, isn't it? Stephen Bradbury being the infamous skating guy. Everyone sort of fell away. There was no Ferrari, and this guy was like, "Sweet, I'm going to take this one."
Yeah.
And rumors that the Irish have claimed him as one of their own is unfounded.
Nice. And even Ireland was very modest. I think I say it in my top 3.
Yeah, okay.
So in third, I had Moss. He should have won this race when Brabham retired, and he was battling with Brabham up to that point anyway. And then I put second Brabham because he should have won this race and had the lead. So disappointment for those two guys. And Ireland I put in as first. And I wouldn't normally give first place to someone that I thought was lucky. But because it was his only win, and I felt like I needed to throw him a bone. And also, I like what he said after the race. So his humility meant a lot to me, and that's why I'm giving him the win full-heartedly, because he was quoted as saying, "I could not take Moss or Brabham. Their cars were too fast. I had no fuel pressure in the last 10 laps and ended up with a thimble full of gas at the finish." So that humility of knowing, hey, I was not meant to win this race, but, good on him. So I'm giving him the win.
For a guy that with no heart, Luigi, you do get sucked in by the emotional.
Oh, do I?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yes. See, I gave Ireland my third spot. It was so lucky. Like, he was really lucky to take that win. So, I just felt, in terms of winning my heart, it didn't do it for me. I don't know what I was thinking here, but I gave Graham Hill second spot. I think I figured out he retired when he was in second spot. So he was unlucky to retire from second. So I gave him second.
That's a clever strategy because I can't check that quickly because Graham Hill
I
He
think
does finish. He finishes in 5th.
there you go. And I'm pretty sure he
But
retired in
you-
second when he was in second.
Are you sure? I mean, okay. I'll go with you on that.
okay,
I'm
well,
just question marking.
Do you
on
want
that
us
one,
to
that's all.
pause the recording so you can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
half
yeah,
an hour of research?
Because I have barely attacked your picks
I
this
know.
year, this episode, so I feel like it's unfinished business. Let's just call it a dubious second rank by Rosa. That's
That
all I
makes
can
you
say.
happy, Luigi. That's
Yeah, it
fine.
makes me happy. Yeah, yeah.
And I gave Moss my first spot. I mean, he had a 40-second lead. 40-second lead. I don't know. When was that? Like on lap 59 or something.
Yeah.
He
It's
would have
unheard of.
won that race. And his old nemesis, the Gremlins, they robs him again of another win. So, and
Wow.
probably the reason, and we know now the reason that he doesn't ever win a championship is because of those Gremlins, pretty much. I mean, he had the skill, he had the cars, he just had bad luck throughout his whole career.
Yeah. And his last race, true to the very end of his career,
Yeah.
he should have won the last. The last race was a reflection of his career.
It was. It
40
summed
seconds
up.
in the lead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Summed up his whole career. Poor guy. And a lot of people
Yeah.
still do talk about, I mean, he's still in the conversation around, the greatest drivers of all time.
Yeah.
Like people
yeah.
still mention him, even though he's never won a championship. So, well, he has now because he's won the TP championship.
And I think this might be
You have to
his.
right the wrongs.
Yes. Yes.
I think, Rosa, this might be his third championships. I'm just quickly looking. I might do a summary of the
Yeah,
TV
okay.
champions on another
Yes.
page. But he won 58 and 59,
Okay.
and he wins 61.
So we did right some wrongs. And I think it is a
Yeah.
good reflection that he's a 3-time world champion. Don't you reckon? He should be
Yeah,
up in
'cause
that conversation.
Yeah, because Ratna, he's famous for not winning a championship. So therefore, for us to have given him 3 is righting the wrongs. And I think 61 would be the one no one saw coming.
No.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Even us.
Yeah.
And look, and everyone needs one of those in their arsenal. The one no one saw coming championship.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Moss takes it out on 96 points. Von Tripp's second on 76. And
Good on
Phil
him.
Hill third on 59. And look, and I understand Ferrari not making it to that last race. I mean, that would have been such a hard thing to overcome, to then travel from, what was it, Italy to the US with such heavy emotion. So I can understand how they didn't go. And they'd won, I mean, in the real world, Phil Hill had already won the championship and Ferrari had already won the Constructors. So they had no reason to go.
Yeah. So we had, so should we do the comparison of the real championship
go
versus
on.
our championship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Phil Hill was first on 34 points. He actually scored 38, but had to drop some points because there were only best certain number of results of the year that would count. Von Trips came second with 33. Now, I'll do the top 3 and then our top 3. So Von Trips second on 33, so only 1 point behind Phil Hill. And Sterling Moss was third on 21 points. So in our championship, we had Moss leading on 96, Von Trips second on 76, and Hill on 59. So we had the same top 3, but shuffled, switched, just flipped Hill and Moss around.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ginther, out of curiosity, he came 5th in the championship with 16 points, but we gave Ginther 4th. So, we're not far off.
Yeah, I think we gave him a bit of love because he kept having to obey team orders and let his teammates through.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, and I'm glad to say that my brain fade with, I think it was the Dutch Grand Prix where I had the wrong results in there. It didn't impact the outcome in the end because the gaps were sufficiently big.
The gap's 20 points and your 8 points wouldn't have made much of a difference. I don't care. I'm still blaming you.
Okay.
It would have been scoreboard pressure,
Yeah. Yeah, the whole mindset would have been different.
Exactly. And I'm a Ferrari fan as well.
And we just handed it to this underpowered Lotus.
Yes.
And even our logo, we didn't even give the championship to our logo team. Nothing.
We had an opportunity here, Luigi.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Life.
I'm happy it went to Moss.
I am too. Triple champion sounds right for him.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And Ratna, how did you enjoy that? I know you've only just become a new Formula One fan, but you've had to delve into the history books for this one.
Yeah, no, that was great. And, I think one of the things that struck me was how much technology has moved on since these guys were racing.
Yes.
And they still give it 100%, right? Like, even in that race where Von Trips, passed on, I don't even know whether there was proper radio and things. It's like what emotions would have been going through their minds.
100% no radio. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
So there you go. So these guys would be like, "What happened?"
Yes.
And tough times to be racing.
Yes.
Obviously, speed and stuff is quite different between now and then. But it is the amount of skill that goes into maneuvering those cars.
Yes.
Especially Moss, as you highlighted earlier, Rosa. How well he does in the wet and things like that. It just spurred me on to want to research these guys further.
Yeah. It only gets worse. That power to weight ratio, less safety features actually tips all the way to the edge, doesn't it, Luigi, in the 60s?
Yeah.
We see cars becoming lighter and lighter and faster and very little safety measures in place, and the drivers just pushing it harder and harder. So I would encourage you, Ratna, to keep listening and keep reading it through this. I mean, I've really enjoyed understanding the 50s and 60s. And yeah, it's just a marvel how these drivers just pushed it so hard.
Yeah, and just the danger that they had. Like, they knew that any touch was a big deal. And it's a mindset that's completely gone in today's Formula One. They can touch each other. It's not a big deal.
Yes.
But back then it was like, it was life or death. So if you were driving at, nearly 300 kilometers an hour side by side on a straight, you wouldn't just do that with anybody. You had to make sure you trusted that other person because your life was in their hands and vice versa. And we saw what happens when you do touch.
Yeah.
And you can be lucky and you can be unlucky.
And, nowadays you get track limit violations for your wheel going over a white line into like some other part of the track which is flat. In these days, you'd end up in a ditch if you strayed even like 10 centimetres.
Hitting a tree.
Yeah, it was just so dangerous. And
depending on the race, the 50s more than we're 61, so we're sort of on the edge of the 50s. But in the 50s in particular, the crowd was just like 1.5 meters away from the edge of the track, like standing there. You could see their bodies standing there, and it's like, oh my gosh, if that guy who's doing 200 kilometers an hour just has a little bit of an off. I mean, that's why Von Trips took 14 people out with him.
Yeah.
14 people lost their lives with that guy. That's pretty horrific.
Yeah. That was on that controversial banking part of that track, Luigi, which is, we'll see that one coming through a lot more.
Yeah.
So I've really thoroughly... Sorry, Luigi, you go.
I was just going to emphasize what Rose said. We don't recommend people watch that video.
No.
It's not a nice thing to see, and it's not why we support Formula One.
No, not at all. So, no. Yep. And I've just to end this perhaps on a bit more of a positive note, I've really enjoyed having Ratna on here. I didn't, like, even though I collate the points, I didn't read any of your commentary, Ratna. It was amazing. It was superb. I love it. So we definitely have to have you back.
Gladly so. And I just want to say that, I'm glad you guys are doing this podcast because it just made me realize, how much context it gives to the sport.
Yes.
And by going back into I learned so much from it just listening to every episode.
Yes.
And even a casual listener is going to gain so much from it. So good on you guys.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks, Ratna.
We certainly love doing it. So good. I'm glad other people are enjoying it as well.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that's it for us for 1961. We have a new People's Champion.
Congratulations, Moss.
Yes.
And
3-time world TP champion.
and that's a nice way of him signing off on his career.
Yes,
retiring
absolutely
with the championship, with the third.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.
Yep. See you for 1962. Bye.
Bye.
We have a Patreon.
Yay, we're a professional podcast now. So it means a lot to us if you are able to support the F1 Time Portal podcast.
For a small monthly fee, you not only get ad-free podcast content, you will also receive special episodes that are exclusively uploaded for our Patreon financial supporters.
We promise at least 2 additional exclusive episodes each month aligned to the decade we are up to in the show.
And you will also be able to make suggestions about any special episodes you may want us to research and present. We can't promise that we can do all of them, but we will consider them.
So, if that sounds like an entertainment bargain to you, go and sign up at patreon.com/F1 Time Portal today.
If you're enjoying our podcast, please tell your friends and non-F1 friends alike.
Yeah, and don't forget to rate us 5 stars or whatever highest is available on the podcast platform that you use.
We have a range of social media handles for you to connect with fellow listeners, so look up F1 Time Portal on all the usual platforms.
Or visit us at www.f1timeportal.com or email us at f1timeportal@gmail.com.
We would like to give credit to our primary reference materials, a series of books called Grand Prix by Mike Lang.
We also use many other written and digital references, which are in our show notes.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.